I'm sorry, guys. The last video cut off. I'm sorry. I'm not like a professional techie here, okay? But anyway, I had to like restart everything and okay. So let me just continue on with what I was talking about, which was basically being wifey and making a house a home. And I was talking about, your when you make dinner, when you have dinner ready for your husband when he comes home. Okay, most men appreciate a home cooked meal, and especially a home cooked meal that he can eat. Okay, because I did have a friend who always told me how he said that he would buy dinners off of me because he said, yeah, his wife cooked, but it wasn't anything he could eat because he was a vegetarian. He didn't eat meat. And he was like, she didn't make enough for him or whatever. So, not only cook dinner, but make sure it's something he can eat. And it usually does make the house smell nice, and it's welcoming. Everybody loves the way a home smells when it's something good cooking, right? That makes the house homey. Okay, so I did talk a little bit about decorating and just making sure that everything is functional. So making sure that, okay, so when somebody's in your house or when you are in your house or as you're going about your life, your day or your life in the house, right? And you notice a need. So for example, if you notice like basically when people come through the door, you have your keys in your hand, you might have your purse or jacket or whatever, right? And if every day before work, your husband is over here saying, I can't find my keys. I can't find my keys. Where's this? Where's that? Where's my jacket? Where's my hat? Where's this? Where's that? Right? That's a need that needs to be fixed, basically, right? Especially if it's happening over and over and over again, right? So then I suggest getting a key hook that you can put near the door or right by the door, somewhere near the door, so he can just hang up his keys as soon as he walks in. And not just him, everybody. There is a designated space for hats, jackets, things like that, okay? So that stuff is not like going everywhere or everything is getting lost or whatever, right? That is what I mean by keeping your thumb or your finger, your pulse, on the pulse of the house, like what's happening, right? Staying checked in to the needs, right? So like if, for example, every time you sit on the couch, if you have a leather couch and you feel kind of cold, you're watching a movie, but you feel cold. Kids, especially, a lot of times, they don't like the way this feels because it can feel a little bit cold to them, right? So make sure there's blankets there, right? Throws, things that, people would solve that problem. Like the keys, like I said, like the keys. Or, for example, if, when you are doing your dishes, okay, this is a prime one. If you have two sinks, right, and you're doing your dishes over here, right, you're doing your dishes on this side of the sink, you put them over here, and then you wash them, or, you rinse them, and then you got to dry them if you have to come back over here, because maybe the dishwasher's over here to set them in, or even if you load them in, or if you're whatever. But if where you got to dry them, now you got to take them back over this way. In other words, you're doing extra work, right? So think about the flow of what you're doing, your household flow. It's better if you're washing dishes on this side of the sink and then you're going to put them over here to get rinsed, then to dry them, the next spot to dry them naturally would be over here. But if you do like me, I stick them in the dishwasher, right? I only run the dishwasher like once a month. I let them dry there. That's just what I do, right? That means I'm going to need to wash them over here, set them over here to rinse, and then over here to dry, okay? It's things like that. I know that sounds very simple, but you'd be surprised as you go throughout your day that little things that irritate you, that you might be doing extra steps. And it's not just you, like your husband or the family. They're doing extra steps. For example, another one is when you get out of the shower, depending on the type of house you have or how big or small it is, if you don't have, some bathrooms don't actually have a designated like closet to put towels or whatever, right? And maybe the bathroom is too small, and maybe the hall closet is way down the hall, but the bathroom is over here. Okay, that's an issue, right? So you have to always remember to bring your towel in with you, because if you don't, what's going to happen? You're going to have to call somebody, babe, can you come get me a towel? Why? Because he's wet, right? And he doesn't want to walk out cold, right? So to solve that, babe, can you, or mom, I need, okay, to solve that right there, right? You can create a shelf or, something, a standalone shelf, either if there's space in the bathroom or maybe right outside of the bathroom or something. Hooks, something, okay? Whether it be on the wall, whatever, you have to utilize that space, right? But fix the problem of needing to get a towel because they forgot, right? That's an issue, okay? Or, for example, if every time your kids go in the bathtub, they're slipping because the tub is slippery, okay? They need those little things those little rubber things, those stickers that you put on there so they don't slip while they're in there, right? Because we don't want anybody hurt, okay? So I'm saying take note of the little things in your house that are, irritating, maybe irritating you, or just irritating in general, or that are not actually cohesive. It's not functioning very well, right? Now, how does a wife think like that? If you have a loving husband, and if you have a good relationship or a loving relationship, or at least a calm one, not a toxic one, okay? I'm not talking to women who, if you're dealing with a toxic man, I understand and get that you're not going to be thinking about his comfort or comfortability, and your brain won't be free enough to keep your pulse on the house and the workings of the house, right? I get it. Okay, so I'm not talking about toxic relationships. I'm talking about a good relationship where you love each other, right? And you are able to either be wifey or stay at home and be wifey, or you're with the kids, or you are just, maybe you work, whatever, but if you're the main one that's working in the house, right? Like, you basically set the tone of the house. Like, you are in charge of where things go in the house and stuff, okay? So, I'm kind of talking to that, all right? A woman needs peace. She needs peace. She needs a calm heart and spirit. She can't be worried about if her husband's going to come home tonight, or if he's out getting drunk, getting high, sleeping around, spending money, or whatever, okay? All that's toxic. No, nobody cares about his comfort when he's acting like that, right? Okay, so what I'm saying is that if you have a nice, calm relationship or whatever, spirit about yourself, or just in general, okay, and your relationship is whatever, okay, like, that's not taking center stage. It's you making the house very functional and very warm and inviting and loving and reflective of your family, right? So again, also, some of the things that I like to do also is basically in the areas where your husband is the most. Like, if he sits in his chair, or if he has his man space, his man cave, if he's in the bathroom, we all know that the toilet is like the man's throne, right? Okay, wherever he spends a lot of his time at in the house, make sure there's a picture of you where you look good, where you're living your best life, whatever, you're at your finest, okay? And of the family, okay? Something for him that he's going to look at. First thing in the morning, he sees that beautiful face, right? He sees his beautiful family, wherever he's at, right? And even if he's watching TV over here, if they're on the wall somewhere nearby, in other words, his eye is always catching sight of why he's working so hard, okay? His eye is also being reminded of why he loves you, why he loves his family, who he loves, right? Okay, and it's going to make him feel proud, especially if you have a husband who is working very hard to provide, and he is providing or whatever. He's gonna feel very proud to come home and see pictures of his family and the growth of his family and different things like that around the house that reflect his hard work, right? And so it also brings warmth to do that, but not just throwing pictures up anywhere, wherever you just want them, because people do that too. They put pictures up wherever you want them, right? But specifically in eye shot areas where he will gravitate his eye to. Maybe even for a time period. Like for me, I have pictures across the way from my bed. Because I want to be able to, I have pictures of my family. And certain things, I know first thing in the morning, I'm going to see those photos, right? And they're encouraging to me. Okay? So, that's something else. Now, I was saying how whenever, most people love the smell of baked cookies. This is the reason why they do that when they selling houses. They put the smell of baked cookies in the house. Vanilla smell is very warm. No vanilla, no baked cookies, or no sweet smells in the bathroom. Bad idea, okay? I have made the mistake myself, and I've been to people's houses where they made that mistake. And I'm sorry. It just makes your poop smell like sweet poop. Okay, we don't want that, okay? No, you need clean linen, Ocean or Lysol, okay, in the bathroom. Make sure that is readily available in your bathroom, right? Because, especially for guests and whatnot, right? Like, we don't need sweet bathroom smells. It doesn't work, okay? I mean, in my opinion, but I'm just saying. I've had other people who agree. So, anyway. Okay, so you're making the house a home, right? And also you are welcoming your man when he comes home. Hopefully dinner is already made or is cooking, and it's something that he likes, something that he can eat, right? And also that now depending on what kind of job he has and everything, if you do make his lunch, like I did, I always made breakfast, lunch, and dinner, make sure that you have created enough or have already put his portion for lunch aside. Okay? Again, just depending on what he likes and what he does or whatever, right? But anyway, that if you can have that done as well. And the reason why I'm saying do that right away is the goal is to get as much of your work done in the time that he is gone. So dinner and putting a lunch away or whatever, cleaning, decorating, whatever, right? So that way you can actually sit down with him and eat a meal with him. And the family, if you have kids too. Like the goal is to have family time to eat and sit down together at the table. Statistics show that families that still eat dinner together at a table are stronger. They have a stronger bond. They're smarter, right? And it's because the kids and everybody, even if it's only 15 minutes, it doesn't take long to eat, right? But it creates a bond and it creates a sense of safety and security. My mother absolutely did this pretty much daily. And we set the table as the kids. We set the table, and we also had to clear the table. And then I did dishes, and I was kitchen duty. But especially and obviously every single day is not always possible because people have different schedules and stuff. But we ate dinner at our dinner table most of the time. And that is the goal, if you can do that a few times a week, because it will actually really, really, really help to create, like I said, a bond and a loving feeling in the home. Okay? Now, outside of that, being wifey also means giving your husband a listening ear, right? And making sure that his basic needs are met, just like hopefully he does for you. Right? But some of his basic needs will be that adult alone time, okay? And also anything else that he has actually expressed, whatever his basic needs are. So every man is different. Like I say, sometimes some men love when you make sure that you cook for them. That's a big deal for them. And some men, they don't really care about that. Like they just don't care. Some men only care that you're present. That they just want you right there next to them. When they get home, they want to see you, they want to touch you, they want to smell you, whatever. Like they just want to know that you are there, right? But in any case, you have to just know him and make sure that you are doing that. Also, just open communication. Now, I did type it in on Google, so I didn't look at it, but I did type it in. Let's see. Okay, so I typed in how to make a house a home. That was this one. I typed in two different things. So I'm just going to read it just to see what what Google says, right? To transform a house into a home, personalize it with items you love, create a cozy atmosphere with lighting and comfort, make it feel like a sanctuary by adding personal touches and creating memories within the space. Absolutely. So, like for me, I love my water sounds. I tend to have, a lot of my stuff is still packed away, but I like to have my water fountains in little things like that. Definitely personal touches, definitely personal things. Like I said, pictures and things like that. Absolutely. Now, I'm going to read the list. Display personal items. Showcase family photos, artwork. That's very good, especially with your kids. Kids come home with something every single day that you can put on the refrigerator or whatnot, okay? And mementos to create a sense of ownership and belonging. Choose furniture and decor. Select pieces that reflect your style and make you feel comfortable. Add warmth and texture. Incorporate cozy elements like rugs, throws, and cushions. Yep, absolutely. Pillows, throws, yep. It says layer your lighting. Use a combination of ambient, task, and accent lighting to create a warm, inviting atmosphere. Okay, so it's like having backlit or lights underneath your cabinets in your kitchen, or, you know, in areas, any areas in your house that you feel like you can't see very well. Like if you have a closet and you have one light, and if the closet is kind of deep and the light just doesn't reach in the back, you're going to need to get one of those pop-ups, okay, and put that under there so that you're not annoyed. So that was one of the things that I was talking about, like as you go throughout your day living in your house, whenever you get annoyed about something, like there isn't a outlet in the spot that you want it, that means you need to get a one of those, you know, the long things, you know what I'm trying to say, the extra plugs, right, that you plug in and you might need to pull it around or whatever because it's not in the right spot, right? So anything that annoys you, whatever, if the door shuts too fast for whatever reason or something like that, and you need to get a stopper or something, the hinge or something, or like when you open the door, if you're always hearing ee, 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 that drives me bananas. That's oil. It needs some oil it down. You can use some olive oil, you can use some canola oil, you can use some coconut oil, you can use any oil will work right there. You just oil those hinges down because nobody wants to hear ee, ee, ee. I mean, you know, on the door. That's annoying, right? Okay, things like that. It's things like that you just need to kind of just be aware and see where you need extra lighting or things like that. Just you can have lighting, spot lighting on anything that like you're proud of, like if you have trophies or if your husband has trophies or, you know, just anything like that, okay? Let's see, freshen up with paint. So they talk about freshening up with paint. Make it functional. Okay, so like I was saying earlier, making it functional. Ensure your home is designed to meet your needs. Okay, keep it clean and organized. That's what we talked about earlier, keeping it clean and organized. Tidy. A tidy space is more inviting and relaxing. Absolutely. Create a lived-in look. Don't be afraid to make your home feel lived in and comfortable. Adding scent. Absolutely. So most people do know, like plug-ins, things like that, candles, things like that. Making a bed. It says a made bed can make a room feel instantly more organized and inviting. Regularly tidy up and declutter to create a more peaceful, functional space. Okay? Now, let's see. Okay, so a lot of this stuff is just stuff that I went over. Now I typed in, I also typed in on the other page, I said how to be wifey. I just wanted to see what Google said. I didn't get a chance to read this either, but it's probably a lot of the same stuff that I've already said, but let's talk about it some more. To be a good partner and wifey, focus on building a strong, healthy relationship through open communication, mutual respect, and willingness to compromise. While also prioritizing your own well-being and independence. So, a willingness to compromise, right? And while still prioritizing your own well-being and independence. That part, okay? If you are married with kids, you probably, I mean, it is a very fine line, right? Between love and hate, no. Love and war, no. Taking care of everybody else and yourself, right? It's like you do have to prioritize yourself. You do. You have to, because you know, as women, we do a lot, you know, and we burn out. We can burn out. You can burn out. I know I have experienced burnout many times when I was not prioritizing myself enough and pushing myself too far, right? Try to if you can, because when you do that for yourself, you have more to pour from your cup, okay, to be able to pour into your family, okay? If you don't have the kind of man that will encourage you to do that, just know that it is something you will need to do. You can only go so long on E, and you just burn out, and then you're no good, and nothing is going to get done. No dinner, no nothing, right? Okay, so he says, here's a breakdown of key areas to consider. Communication and connection. Open and honest communication, sharing your thoughts, feelings, and needs openly and honestly with your partner. I mean, I think a lot of women, for the most part, are pretty good at this, but to me, I feel like it's the men that usually have a hard time opening up. But, you know, try to encourage that. Try to encourage open communication time if you can, you know. Active listening. It says, pay attention when your partner is speaking and trying to understand their perspective. Okay. Quality time. Make an effort to spend quality time together, free from distractions, and engage in activities you both enjoy. So one thing I actually really love to do, I mean, honestly, I really love to do is to take walks. I can take a walk by myself, but I also like to take walks with my partner. And when I say my partner, I mean one that is not yelling at me or berating me. One that is not crazy or actively manic. One that is not cursing or calling me names, right? It would require, I think, a stable, loving relationship for me to want to take a walk with him, right? Because otherwise I'm going to go by myself, okay? But I think that taking a walk is, A, free, B, quality time, and gives you time to discuss the day. And you get exercise, right? You can encourage exercise. So I just think all around it's a really good thing that you can incorporate doing, even if it is just 10-15 minutes after you eat dinner or whatever, right? That's easy to do. Okay. Intimacy. It says, love your husband and never stop yearning to know him better. That's cute. Okay, so yeah, keep your curiosity. Okay. I would say that, I mean, on average, a lot of men are pretty simple. I mean, the thing about it is, right, on average, I'm just saying average, we are born with both male and female hormones in our body, right? This is how we are able to create male boys or girls, right? Like, I mean, like, we have to kind of provide those hormones as the baby is growing, right? So we are literally flowing with both male and female very high, right? And we I think as women are complicated to men so much because they, for the most part, you know, live in a less emotional, raging, hormone raging body. Okay? They don't usually have as much issues as we do, right? Because we have different times in a month that literally can affect us. Physically, mentally, emotionally, right? And this is good and bad, right? Because we need to have that. But I think it can cause confusion for a lot of men because they are usually, for the most part, very basic, right? Unless they have gone through some serious things or some serious life changes or whatever, and until they start running up against a brick wall, that they might start thinking more deeper, right? And get more complexities to them. Now, some men are naturally very deep and emotional, you know, but they hold it in a lot of times, right? But for the most part, what I have noticed with most men is that usually they have a couple of requests that they want from their woman, and everything else is just extra gravy And I like the ice cream or the cherry on top for them. They, if they like, I just basically want this and that or whatever. So you just have to figure out what that is, right? And then we can usually build around that. But we tend to overexert ourselves a lot. Like, for example, I'm gonna give an example. My late husband was his love language was touch and words of affirmation. My love language is acts of service and quality time. At that time, acts of service was higher. I scored higher on acts of service than quality time, but quality time was right behind it. But those were my top two. His were the opposite, okay? So for a long time, when he would come home, and I mean, I was not a stay-at-home mom, but I was home a lot. I had a more flexible schedule. So a lot of times when he came home, I was still cleaning and doing stuff, and I did not stop always to welcome him. And when I didn't stop to welcome him home, if I didn't stop what I was doing, he was highly offended. He was highly offended. He didn't care if I had the dinner ready. He didn't care if the house was clean. He didn't care if the house had blown up and had socks everywhere and underwear and shoes and everything all over. He did not care about any of that. And he actually even said that to me on a couple. It took it a couple times for me to understand that he was highly offended when I did not welcome him home, if I didn't stop and address him. And he actually wanted the kids and everybody to jump all over him and be like, "Daddy!" and all that stuff. And he was, and I tested him, because the reason why was because of I tested him. I remember when he said it to me, he said, "I don't care about the house. I don't care about this. I don't care." And I remember thinking, like, really? Because I do. I care about the house being clean and all that. So I tested him. Several times, I allowed the house to just get very messy. Not nasty, messy. Just stuff all over, whatever. And I just basically, when he came home, I just made sure that I jumped all over him just like the kids and everything. And we were like, "Hi," whatever. And we just talked. But I did not have dinner ready. And the house was a hot mess. And I just was like, like I just sat down with him and just talked to him on the couch, whatever. And just like, like, what up? And that man was happy as could be. Okay, he was fine. He was like, "What are we going to do for dinner?" He was like, "Let's go. We're going to go get something." Like, it was like, he didn't say to me, like, "How come you didn't cook?" or "Where's my dinner?" or anything. He didn't ask me why stuff was all over the place. I just basically was like, "Oh my God, I was so busy today. I did this and that." And then I just, I tested him a couple times, and he didn't notice. He did not care. I was like, okay, well, I did though. Okay, so it was a big deal to me, and he did appreciate when the house was clean, but he cared more that I was, showing him words of affirmation and physical touch. He cared. That was more important to him, and he felt completely fulfilled, loved up, and all of that. Okay. Now, on the flip side, when he would say "I love you" to me so many times in a day. Excuse me. He would say "I love you" so many times in a day. That I would say to him, I would say, "Oh my God, don't say I love you to me anymore." Every time I would say, "You hit your limit," because he was very lovey-dovey, and so he would say "I love you" or whatever, and want to hug and kiss every time, And I would hand him the broom, and I'd be like, "Look, you got 3 times, and now after that, every time you want to say I love you, I want you to stop yourself and look around and see what needs to be picked up," because I felt like it was really only me bothering me, like the shoes and everything was all over the place, right? And he thought that was so strange, but I was like, "No, you don't understand. Like, it's hard for me to relax when the house is a mess, and you want me to relax and sit with you, right?" So he did. He'd go, "I love you," and here's the broom, and he would literally do that. He would literally go and do something, right? Because he knew acts of service was my main love language, like doing something for me. And so, anyway, we came to that conclusion. This is actually before I ever read the book, 5 Love Languages. But when I read the book, I completely understood why we had come to that arrangement and conclusion between the two of us. Like, why and how, like, it made sense to me what worked, okay? Now, anyway, that is a perfect example of, what I mean when I say men are usually pretty simple, okay? And they're usually, just basically figure out their 2 or 3 main things, and just build upon that, and just make sure that those things are done. If they like the bed made every single day, and they don't really care about much of anything else, then just make sure you make the bed. Okay. Now, one of the other things that I like to do is also having a towel and washcloth ready to go. If it's already in the bathroom, that's fine. But laying that out, it's a nice gesture to show that you care, right? Just to show that you appreciate them. Now, again, I understand if you work full time and you don't have a lot of time. I understand. So a lot of things, you just can't do. But I'm talking about, if you are a stay-at-home wife, or you get an opportunity to do these things, right? So anyway, now let's see. Oh, one of the other things is when your husband has his friends over and they're watching the game, or whatever, right? And you're entertaining, you want to make sure that you are a good hostess when his boys are over, okay? And that everybody has their things that they need. So whether it be a serving tray, like a serving tray to actually put food on or whatever, that everybody has what they need, their utensils, napkins, their, forks, ice, whatever they need, right? Make sure that, that your guests are taken care of, but especially if they're his boys or they're his guests, right? You want to treat them as an extension kind of your husband, in the way that you'll maybe bring your man his plate or whatever. You can offer to be that hostess for them as well. And also, when his boys are over, I mean, for me, unless it's a mixture of people and everything, but if he has guys that are, they're really kind of there for him, and he's not really your friend or whatever, then that's kind of like, I'm checking in on them to make sure they don't need any more, whatever, snacks or beer or whatever. They're okay or whatever, and they still talking or they still watching the game or whatever. Cool, I'm out. I'm doing my thing over here. Whatever I'm doing, because I always got stuff I want to work on or whatever. I'm looking at, to me, that's like good. You got him now. Like y'all are good. You don't, like, if you have a good relationship and everything, toxic would be, trying to listen in on the conversations, or, butting in and being, obnoxious, or, making it look like you run the show and you run the roost or whatever, and, disrespecting him in front of his boys and everything. Like, everybody knows that behind closed doors, when the boys are gone and they don't need to, like, beat their chest in front of the boys, everybody knows they cater to you. And if they don't, then maybe, anyway, you might need to, revisit who you're married to. But anyway, in front of the boys, though, in front of the men, make sure you are being respectful and looking out for everybody's needs and everything. But then after that, you can excuse yourself, like, bye, okay, like, leave, because that's his boys or whatever. You don't need to be up in their business, and let them just whatever do their thing, okay? Because what do we care? I mean, like, why do you need to be there, right? Trying to be too involved, unless they want you there. I mean, unless that's your, I mean, you'll know. Like, I'm saying, specifically when he has people coming over and they're watching the game, or it's really guy time, okay? Let it be guy time, and go, you can leave or whatever. Also, one of the things that I love to do when the guys are over, is, looking, not only just making sure they're okay with whatever they need or whatever, as far as being a good hostess and everything, but making sure, especially if the game is on or something like that, during halftime or at certain moments when you do come in and check, make sure that you are being loving, and not just being like, what you want, you need some, okay, and rolling your eyes. Don't have no attitude. No, come and actually ask him, is there anything you need? Anything else needs? And then when you bring him whatever it is, if he says, oh, I need another beer or whatever, when you bring it to him, give it to him with a kiss, okay? Give it to him with, some affection, okay? Men love that, especially in front of other men. They love to show off that they have a wife that loves them, okay? They love that. And for me, it's genuine, because I'm a PDA kind of person anyway, so I don't care about PDA, but a lot of men, especially, just like to show off in front of their boys like they are the king of the house and they are the, the head honcho of the house, okay? And they are. I mean, especially if he works very hard for you, and especially if he's providing for you, or especially if, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's the head of the household, right? So you want to show respect. But especially in front of the boys. You definitely don't want to have arguments or disagreements or try to disrespect him or go against him or anything in front of people. And this was something I had to absolutely learn, because I did run the show with my late husband, my first husband, and I'm bossy, and he was the baby of the family, and he allowed me to get away with way too much. But what I learned was that it only really offended him when we were in front of other people. And I had to really be put in my place on a couple of occasions by my parents, by a few others, that basically, I spoke out of pocket. And I was younger, but I didn't realize that how I was saying or how I was coming across in front of others, how it made him feel and how it made him look. But once it was brought to my attention, and I felt like God really put it in my face, I changed a lot of things. I had to change all that. What I especially changed was just knowing that I couldn't exert myself in that same way, especially when people were around. Now, when nobody was around, he really, it's not that I was mean or anything or try to be like nasty or anything. It's not that, it's just that I could be a little bit more vocal about whatever. And actually, he was the kind of husband that wanted me to be vocal. He would always be like, as soon as people left, okay, what do you want to do? It was like, because I used to be like, why are you acting like I didn't run the show in front of other people, but now they're gone or whatever. It's like, hey, okay, what? I didn't get it. Once I got it and I understood it was just a man thing, it was an ego thing. Because, women, we don't come like that. Men have way more egos. They have more ego issues than we do. We don't have ego issues like that. Like, we really don't. We're more emotional, right? Anyway, and because I am a very much a what you see is what you get kind of person, I wasn't understanding how to balance and know that there's a time and a place to discuss things and a way to say things in front of, right? But once I got it, and I got it. I got it all the way. And I share this with other women all the time. When you're younger and if you're just not quite understanding, okay? Anyway, that's all I want to go into, because I think that a lot of stuff is just, the rest of this is just like, we talked about all of that. The rest of it is just websites. I don't know. I don't want to get into too much. This video has already gone on way too long. But anyway, so basically, as a little recap of whatever, these last 2 videos, what I wanted to talk about or basically express was making a house a home and being wifey, right? And whatever that means to you, whether it's decorating, flowers, things like that, just creating cohesiveness in the house so that things run effectively, a woman's touch in different places, right? And, welcoming your man when he comes home, whether it be cooking or cleaning, or if you need to hire that help out or whatever, basically being there, or at least finding out what are your husband's 2 or 3 main requests that he wants from you, okay? And making sure that you fulfill those. Because usually it's very simple, and it's usually going to be, like I said, just a couple of things, whatever they are. And then just making sure that you make that a priority for him. And those types of things, right, are all going to show that, that you are wifey, and that, you know how to, be part of a union, right? And that you love him and that you respect him, right? Okay, that's it. Bye.